Hello everybody, it is Ian Lives. Welcome back to another YouTube video, another movie review, and another episode of Hollow Binge. Today we are going to be talking about the 2023 Hulu original film, Appendage. Now, the funny thing about Appendage is that it actually was a short film that came out 3-4 years ago that I actually seen, because it starred Rachel Sennett. I'm a Rachel Sennett stan. I mean, what can I say? But I always thought it was a cool idea that they made it a full-length movie, but I never ended up checking it out until now. So we're just going to get straight into it. Not much to say. Starting off with the basic plot. You follow this girl named Hannah, and she is this designer. She designs dresses and stuff, and she goes to this school to try to become the best designer ever. And she really is having a rough time in life. Her parents don't like her. Her designer boss is just a douchebag. She suspects that her boyfriend is cheating on her with her best friend. So she's going through some rough spots. Randomly one night, she starts feeling these cramps or feelings in her stomach that end up being this monster that comes out of her side. That basically is the voice in her head telling her that she can't do anything. That is the monster that's coming out. And eventually Hannah is freaked out. She thinks that she's losing her mind. She ends up finding this group that's full of people who have these appendages that we later learn that they're called. So she teams up with one of them to really try to figure out what's going on. Moving on to the pros. This movie is very, very, very reminiscent to Frank Henenlotter. If you guys don't know who Frank Henenlotter is, he has directed some of my favorite horror movies of all time, like Basket Case, Brain Damage, Frankenhooker, just to name a few. And this one specifically reminded me a lot of Basket Case and Brain Damage, just because of the whole monster growing out of you concept. Obviously, Basket Case, the monster wasn't growing out of him, but if you watch Appendage, there's a reveal in here that is literally the plot of Basket Case. So they definitely were inspired by Henenlotter's movies, which, hell yeah, I love that because I really like that style of movie. I think Frank Henenlotter is the only person that really could perfect that style of movie. So it's cool to see modern movies try to go for that weird body horror creature feature horror movie approach, and it was really cool to see that here. Another thing I loved, which is a key to body horror creature features, is the practical effects. The practical effects were great in here. I don't think there's much CGI at all. I couldn't see the CGI, so it obviously wasn't notable if there was CGI. But the monster looked like full-on practical effects, and it looked awesome. It looked very cheesy, very campy, but assuming that was done on purpose, it didn't look flawed, in my opinion. I really like how it looked. So yeah, again, keeping that campy flavor to it. Another thing I loved, the score of this movie was really cool. It's very techno-esque, very synthwave. It was really cool. It added to the atmosphere. It added to the tension. I really enjoyed it. Another thing that I loved about this movie was how, based off the concept of this Frank Henenlotter riff in a more modern day light, you might be thinking that it's a really full-fledged horror movie. But what I really appreciated Appendage for doing was they really came up with smart metaphors for mental health. And they focused more on that than the horror. Now, I completely understand why horror fans going into Appendage for horror will not enjoy that. I'm a horror fan. I mean, can you tell? I went to an Appendage expecting a body horror movie. But I appreciated how the middle chunk of this movie is more of a coming-of-age drama. Not coming-of-age. It's more of a drama about mental health. But just with a monster spin on it. And I thought that was really unique and really cool. It was really well written, that portion of the movie. And I really enjoyed how the movie didn't focus on the creature all too much. It didn't focus on its gimmick. It kind of had the gimmick to set up a really cool metaphor that was, again, really well written. And yeah, I really enjoyed that portion of the movie where they focused on Hannah as a character study, where she's really trying to figure out what's going on. Her monster's telling her all this stuff, which is literally a metaphor for the voice in your head. And immediately when the monster was doing that, I was like, oh, that's where this movie's going to go. That's really cool. That's really smart. And yeah, I just think it's really smart that they went to that route. Other than just having a gore fest, a campy horror comedy gore fest, which some would argue would make a better movie. I like where they went with this one. Another thing that I really loved was the twist of the movie. I enjoyed, because I wasn't expecting it. Now, there's a downside to the twist. It could have been done better. It adds holes to the story. What twist doesn't? But I really enjoyed it for what it was. It felt a little forced, but still, it was really cool because I wasn't expecting it. And it was also kind of confusing. There's a lot of flaws to the twist, but it's fun and it's cool that it's there, if you know what I mean. Now, moving on to my flaws, my cons. The acting was pretty meh. I didn't really enjoy the acting. The lead performance did not sell me. It is hard to beat Rachel Sennett because she did great in that little short film that I think was for Huluween. I could be wrong. If you guys don't know what Huluween is, that's the thing that Hulu does every single year, where they showcase a bunch of horror shorts that these filmmakers make for Hulu. It might have been for Huluween, but she did phenomenal in the short. So, and I'm such a big Rachel Sennett fan, it was kind of hard to one-up that. She didn't sell me. I'm not sure who the actress is, but again, she didn't. When you do a lead role, you want to really pop out with the cast. And there's a side character in here that she meets later on that I thoroughly enjoyed way more than the main character, which is a problem. That's when you need to go back and touch up on your characters. Also, the dialogue was pretty wacky. It could have been done on purpose for sure, especially when the monster talks, because that's when it reminded me of Brain Damage. In Brain Damage, that's that weird-ass movie that Frank Henenlotter did where this brain thing grew out of this guy's neck, I think. And it was basically like talking to him like the devil on his shoulder. And it would say all these crass things. This movie, as soon as this monster comes out of her side, saying all this stuff, cuss words and stuff, and it could be kind of corny, because this movie doesn't go for a horror comedy approach. It's not a horror comedy. Again, some would argue it would be better as a horror comedy. I actually agree with that statement. I got my cat. Say hi to Shepherd. What was cool about Frank Henenlotter was that they were horror comedies. So yeah, the crass things that the monster says can be a little off-putting for sure. There's also just weird conversations that don't feel organic between the boyfriend and the main character Hannah. Like, I don't know why it was so messy, the dialogue. Again, it didn't really feel like humans talking to each other. And same with the side character. I forgot her name. It's the chick that was in Humane earlier this year, which wasn't a great movie either. But yeah, the acting and dialogue, pretty meh. Another thing that was really weird about this movie, and I don't know if you guys will experience the same thing that I did, but I felt like this movie was very front-loaded, overly front-loaded. And knowing that it was based off a short film might have impacted that. But like the first 10 minutes of this movie, everything in the description of the movie happens. It moves so freaking quick, dude. And like 10 minutes in, she already has the monster. She already is freaking out. And then it's like, how are they going to drag this out for another hour and 20 minutes? And that's when I was like, okay, this should have stayed a short film. Now, to give the movie props, it shocked me because it did obviously have good moments after the first 10 minutes or so. But it moves like boom, 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 boom. As soon as the movie starts, she's getting rumblings in her stomach. Give the movie time to breathe, dude. And again, that's really when you can tell that it's based off a short film. And then also toward like, I know I said I liked the middle chunk and how it wasn't horror, but it kind of drags. And so does the ending of the movie, the climax. It kind of drags. Like, the pacing of this movie is so messy and off. It's weird to me how quick and rushed the beginning of this movie felt. It felt like I was watching a short film, but there was still an hour and 20 minutes left. Thankfully, it smoothed out a little bit. I was so worried. I was like, is this going to just be nonsense? This monster running around for an hour and 20? But it wasn't. They did some creative and unique things. They really took it out of the short film and did their own thing. I think it's the same director. He really... or she, I think it's a girl that directed it. She really adapted onto her short film really well. So, again, I gotta give props for that. But the pacing was super off. The ending, I guess you could also consider this pacing issues. Like, the very end of the movie feels like they have to hurry up and answer all these plot points that they leave unanswered. Because what this movie does, which I already touched on, it does the drama thing, but it also, like, with that, they have to set up all these drama points. So the friend, the best friend, she thinks that she's cheating God damn! She thinks that she is dating her boyfriend, cheating on her, whatever. And the parents have a rough relationship because you find out later some more stuff about the character. Sure, it connects to some metaphors, but a lot of those dramatic plot points that they throw in go nowhere. They go nowhere. Until the very, like, last 4 minutes when they're like, oh yeah, we have all those subplots that we didn't do anything with. We're going to hurry up and answer all of them. And they shove all of these things down your throat. Like these scenes of her going to her parents' house and talking to them. Of her going to the friend and talking to her. They just shove them down, and they're so rushed, and it doesn't feel natural. There was too many subplots to swallow. When it came to the drama department, they needed to limit it. They needed to edit it down because it was very messy, and a lot of it went absolutely nowhere. So overall, I enjoyed Appendage. It's very, very, very flawed. There's a lot of issues that are super apparent, but I love the concept. I love how the director was trying to bring back campy 80s, 90s, weird, bizarre, wacky horror movies like Frank Henenlotter's movies and trying to put them into a more modern light. I really, really, really enjoy that idea. I like the metaphors of mental health. I thought they were really well written. I related to them quite a bit. So overall, it's hard to rate Appendage because, again, there's a lot of flaws. The acting's not great. The dialogue's not great. The pacing is off. The subplots can get messy and convoluted. Overall, I'm going to give Appendage a 3.5 out of 5. That extra half might be a little generous, but for now, I'm going to leave it there. It was a lot of fun. But you kind of have to look past the issues. And if you're going to check out Appendage, don't go into it expecting a creature feature horror movie. Go into it more expecting a drama that involves a monster, and you will enjoy it a lot more. Don't get your hopes up. It's not a full-fledged horror movie. If you guys enjoyed the video, please subscribe, turn on the bell, follow my Instagram at @IanLives_, and follow my Letterboxd at wehateian. I absolutely love you guys. If you have seen Appendage, let me know what you thought about that in the comments below. I did the whole intro wrong. Whatever. Peace. I'm out of here.